Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Thought I'd start the Sunday chat on Monday with a look at that as it catches the early morning sunlight. I think sunlight just does something to blooms. Check out those colours. Lit slightly from behind, it makes the world a difference. Right, let's get this camera set up and get this show on the road. So, here we go then. First Sunday chat in my squeaky clean, tidy grow room. It really does feel different, quite honestly. I'm chatting to Hannah over the weekend about changes in environments and things that have happened, and she could see exactly why when I got here I tried to recreate the environment I had at the other place. But it was midwinter. I moved in middle of December 2021, and yes, it was middle of winter. The environment I had around the other place was impossible to recreate here because I had a north-facing conservatory that didn't get any sun, and as a consequence I didn't get the heat generated through the glass on the sunny days of winter. That was gone. Consequently, much lower temperatures. Daytime I'm on about now, night time's controlled on a thermostat with a heater. That was actually the same, that didn't change. But in my mind I was trying to recreate the same environment without the sun, which was impossible. And in my mind I needed humidity, and I got that wrong. Because at those lower temperatures during the day you don't need that humidity. It just does more harm than good. And it took me part way through 2022 to even realise that it was me trying to do something that couldn't be done here. And that winter cost me a few plants. And then yet again, so we had the wrong environment. We then didn't get a very good growing season in 2022 on top of weakened plants. Yeah, and we went into another winter, the one just gone, well, quite a way away, but the one gone, and more damage was done basically. Temperatures too low, not appreciating that, humidity still too high, and I've got it now. Basically this is a light, not sunny, light, bright, airy, buoyant atmosphere, and the plants seem to be doing okay now. But it took that long really to get my head. There's still a few plants struggling that haven't come out of their original struggles. There aren't any going into struggles. That's the difference now. The plants I've got are either struggling and working their way upwards, or they've already been lost, or they're doing okay. So we haven't got any like going downhill. I haven't got any thinking, well, that one was okay once, now look at it. I haven't got any of those now. So what's left is doing okay, with very few exceptions. I was going to say, out the corner of my eye I can see an exception, but there's so few now I don't bother with them. If they go, they go. Yes, so we are, believe it or not, in autumn now, officially, past the 1st of September. So this is now autumn. The days are definitely getting shorter, the night gets longer. We say that every year. It happens every year. Funny that, isn't it? Every year this happens. We still talk about it. It's a natural phenomenon. But us orchid growers have to stop and think about those things. If the days are getting shorter, there's a reason. The sun rises later, is lower in the sky at its peak, and sets earlier. And because it's lower at its peak, it's shining at a different angle. It's getting to places it never used to get. And that needs to be watched, especially for home growers. You watch your windows. If you've got plants that are capable of getting direct sun, but you've moved them away from the window to stop them getting that direct sun, well, keep your eye on them. That sun will gradually creep across the room. I mean, in my corner over there, it's noticeable. In midsummer, the sun comes in the window at an angle and lights up the arm of the sofa, the settee. That's it. Well, it's now moved across the first cushion, halfway across the second cushion, and lights up the whole of the settee. And Mojo says, "Thank you very much." I can go to sleep in the sun without going in the garden. But yeah, watch your light levels. And the day's getting shorter for me. As we get to the end of this month, we will be doing something with the grow lights. I've made my mind up that for the relatively small amount of electricity that those LED lights use, I think it's worth it. But the plant selection's going to take a bit of doing, and therein will be some videos, I'm sure, as we select the plants, where they're going to go, where the lights are going to go. So that's all to come, but that's towards the end of the month. For the rest of this week, we do have a conflict of interest on Friday, because Friday is Project Orchids Day. There are only 4 Fridays left in this month, and there are 4 plants to do, so I need to do that. It's also the 8th, everything in bloom on the 8th. I'll just do 2. We have 2 short videos on Friday. You can watch one on Friday, one on Saturday or something, if you've got the time, obviously. And talking of time, the garden channel now has reached the middle of July, which means the videos getting posted are not that old, which means you good people from my Orchid channel that have gone across and shown an interest in the gardening channel and helping with the views and the watch hours, all that sort of stuff, you're sort of watching the videos now and thinking, I've only just seen that. Well, fair enough. I don't want people wasting their time, but from my point of view, it's not time wasted because it adds those watch hours up. I mean, the subscribers are 360, 70, something like that. They're going up slowly but surely. They'll be fine, you know, getting to the magic 500. But the watch hours are about 660, I think, something like that. You know, so 2,200 and something still to go. They will take time to get those watch hours up. But as I said, I'm hoping to draw people into the gardening channel that are not necessarily from the Orchid channel. And I hope those from the Orchid channel stay, you know. Because at some point that will be totally separate. You won't see any element of the garden on the Orchid channel, apart from what you can see out of the glass, which you can now see out of the glass, because it's clean. You know, I tend keeping it that way. But no, anything to do with the garden, you know, at the point where I've caught up, will be purely on the gardening channel. And so they will be new videos. So perhaps, you know, those of you who have helped out with that channel will have a greater interest because you won't have seen them before. So looking forward to getting to that point. I would suggest, I think I've got about 4 of July's videos left to do, one of which is halfway done and I stopped to do this. And then there's 3 in August, and then we'll be into September. And there's only been 1 in September so far, and you saw it here on the Orchid channel, which was, you know, the work that Hannah and I did this weekend, just gone. I'm going to be in a muddle with my days this week. I can see it coming. The good news is lots of stuff aches and lots of stuff is twingy, but having had a good night's sleep and quite honestly quite a good sit down in the car taking Hannah home and driving back, you know, that's like 3.5 hours sitting in a nice comfortable seat. Yeah, I know some people don't find driving necessarily easy, but I do. I love driving. I've got a nice comfy seat. I've got lovely scenery. Well, not coming home last night, it was pitch dark, but because it was late yesterday. But yeah, so a good sit down for the evening yesterday. Came back, just fed the cat, sort of pottered around, had an early night. Had a reasonable lie-in. Mojo now has started fussing for his breakfast as it gets light. Well, instead of that being not long after 4 o'clock, it's now 5:45. That's civilised. Well, it is in my world. It's a lie-in. So yeah, nice sleep, and everything's sort of a bit twingy, a bit achy, And I wouldn't want to do a lot of bending over or anything today, you know, or lifting, but we're okay. I think the recovery will probably be done by tomorrow. We shall see, we shall see. But I was expecting to be almost immobile, you know, where things were hurting so bad I just didn't really want to move much, you know, just actually rest everything. I mean, some people say move, you know, if you ache and move it, get it working again. Well, the older you get, the more likely you're actually doing damage to do that. So we will have a lazy day today. I've got to water my mounts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All 7 of them. That's what we're down to. Those of you who've been around a while, you think back to the other place. How many hanging racks there were, how many racks on the edges covered in mounted orchids. The mounts don't do well here. So I can't imagine any will be going on mounts now. A couple might get remounted with fresh moss, not sure. But I don't think we'll be putting any new plants on mounts. So, you know, I'm down to 1 rack. That leaves a lot more space lying around, you know. Things change. It's a different world. You know? And if the finances do start struggling, I mean, I've just paid my rent. It's an extortionate amount to suddenly come out of your bank account. But that's for the coming 3 months, which takes me up to the end of November. That will be my 2 years. It hasn't gone up. I'm sure there's quite a few renting people that, you know, their rents have gone up. Cost of living, inflation, all that cobblers. Well, landlords suffer with that as well. And it's often passed on to the poor tenants. But no, my rent stayed the same, you know, so it's good stuff. I've got my inspection on the house and garden coming up soon. I don't know when. I just wait for the phone call. You know, when the phone call comes, you know, I make an arrangement and it happens. But I'm not ready for that inspection yet because I've still got tidying to do. You know, Hannah said things like, well, you want to make sure you dust the back of the TV because you can see it. And I said, the TV belongs to me. That's none of their business. It's like somebody commented on the fan in here. It's grubby, it's old, you know. And with the humidity and the blast of air, the front grille starts getting a bit rusty. You know, it looks a bit tatty. She said, you know, and somebody said, perhaps you ought to hide that or put it away or give it a really good clean or something. It belongs to me, it's none of their business. What belongs to them is their business. That's the building, the structure. Is the floor clean, yeah? That's their business. What's in it is my business. And Hannah just looked up on that sort of idea and said, yes, but if everything that you own is all grubby and tatty and, you know, you can write your name in it and stuff like that, it shows that you haven't got much respect for your own stuff. So they start suspecting, you know, well, what's your attitude towards where you're staying then? You know, the bit that doesn't belong to you. So there is, you know, a little tidy up, put things away that have been left out, just make sure everything's clean and tidy. And that's still left to do, and it will stay left to do, apart from a few bits which I'll do gradually, because some things are out and I don't actually know where I'm going to put them yet. There's a cupboard I've got that I can open the door and throw things in and shut the door. Well, 2 of them actually. But yeah, so there is still a bit to do, but not much. And the last minute thing, before she comes, I've got quite a lot of wooden furniture. I go round with some wood polish and hoover the floors, so that when she comes in, everything smells all nice and clean and fresh. And the floors are clean. I mean, if you've got cats, then there's cat hair. There always is. Although Mojo's not molting now, he's finished his time. So yeah. The inspection will come and go. I don't expect any hassles. There's a possibility I might get a hassle about the windows not being very clean, but the paintwork is so bad, to clean those windows will take paint off the frames, and they're wooden. They need replacing. But that's obviously not going to happen. Can't see the landlord coughing up and spending money on improvements to this place. You know, get somebody else in it to maintain it, but I don't think there's going to be any improvements somehow. I don't know what the landlord's plans are. I mean, she might be waiting for a good property surge in prices to sell it. Well, that ain't happening at the moment. There's a property drop at the moment, not a surge. Nothing's moving in the property market much. People don't feel comfortable with inflation high, companies going bust. You know, that's still happening. I mean, Wilko, which is a sort of very discounty type store where you can go and buy almost anything, garden stuff, crockery for your house, bits of furniture, lights, just that sort of stuff at very good discounted prices. Well, that's gone down. They're trying to find a buyer to save all the jobs. So it's still happening. It's not, we're not safe. We're not safe. And if you don't feel safe, you don't want to go out spending lots of money, do you? And I mean, mortgages are hard to get now. You know, to actually borrow money against a property has got hard. Deposits bigger, yeah, far more scrutiny done on your ability to pay, and the rates, the interest rates have rocketed from next to nothing to something worth having to think about. You know, what's your mortgage going to cost you each month, and has it finished rising yet? You know, so things aren't moving much. I mean, that house is for sale next door. I don't know how it's going. Some people did come and have a look round last week, I noticed. Because I'm here most of the time, I hear voices, you know, right outside my window. I think, who's that? Nosy neighbour, like, peek through the blind. But yeah, you know, estate agents have shown a couple of people around. They were quite a young couple. My first thought was, how on earth can they afford that? But they might be two executives. They might have really, really good jobs. They might have inherited a large sum of money. You know, there's all, you can't judge a person by their age, not their financial wealth. You can't look at somebody's age and judge that. Anyway, so what's going on in here? Not a lot. And there isn't a lot, quite honestly. There's a few more plants that have got to come off mounts. Most of the kikis have now been dismantled and put in pots. Sort of, you know, think, ouch! Oh, we still do ache when we bend. Things like this, yeah, pot full of kikis with a tag so that we know what the hell it is. Those are saving plants where the main plant is struggling and unlikely to recover. It has produced kikis, so you take the kikis off and put them in an environment where they're safe, knowing that you will then get some adult plants a couple of years down the line because the main plant's lost. I'll show you what I mean because I've got a real good example. A plant that has always done brilliant for me, has always bloomed and has been a star performer. And it now looks like that. It's dead, effectively. And that's my Dendrobium nestor. Which is the anosmum hybrid with the raspberry fragrant flowers that are sort of a deep purple centre. Beautiful blooms. Well, I'm not going to see them for a while. Now I've already taken a couple of kikis off and potted them, and I've just got that one to take off now and get that in a little pot. Probably go in the same pot as the others, but it's much smaller, and then that'll go in the bin. It's dead. It has ceased to be. It is an ex-nestor, and that's the problem I've been having. The main plants in some cases have gone downhill so far with their struggles that they're not going to recover. So, you know, that's a classic example. That plant has had it. Luckily it produced some kikis. I can grow those on. They will grow in this environment. They will know no other. So they should do okay. Orchids are quite adaptable, but they're not necessarily adaptable enough to take a massive change of environment, you know. Right, so that's that. What else is going on in here? As I say, there isn't really much going on in here at the moment. repotting it's down to a minimum. There's some nobelies I would have liked to have repotted, but I'm not going to bother now at this time of year, so we won't bother with those. They are a problem with the lights, because they should have a brighter, drier winter rest to get the best blooming out of them. Most of them didn't bloom at all this spring, late winter spring. We had nothing. That's how far back they've been set. No blooms at all. I think Prima Donna put a couple out, but not much else. So the problem is with the nobelies is they're very tall, and if I'm going to have a light up in that corner, they will be too close to the light. There's actually one over there that's got some buds on, just noticed. Well, as long as they're not kikis again. You know, I mean, if you think about it, these kikis in this one, I've shown you this before, but those kikis are growing, but they were 2/3 that size when they came off of the plant. You know, I mean, that's a tall, very sturdy nobly type. It hasn't got a name, it's just a hybrid. But beautiful, large flowers, absolutely stunning. Well, there's 6 in there, and they're going to stay together in the same pot. I'm going to make that a specimen plant. It won't be a plant, but it'll look like one. They're not going to all join together at the bottom, but but yeah, so you know, kikis can be grown on, and I suspect I might even get an odd flower on maybe 1 or 2 of those in next spring. Probably not, but it is remotely possible. So, otherwise, the following year, I suspect we will get a good blooming. So that sort of stuff's going on. Things coming into spike. I noticed this one when I watered everything on Friday. This is pushing a spike up quite quickly. Nice spike. This is one of a set of 3 Odontoglossum types. And we identified this one. It's a Zelenkosidium calico gem, allegedly. But that's got a nice spike on it. You know, so we got I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 blooms to come on that. They're quite large. But as things start spiking, they have to move so that the spike has got room and doesn't touch the shelf above it or something. And being an Odontoglossum type, I don't want that on this top shelf, because this part of the grow room still gets some sun through the roof, even though the shade netting's off. It's weaker sun. So I was just thinking, what have I done with my camera? What I meant was, what have I done with my coffee? Here it is. This is another one. This is another nice spike coming on. This one is on the top shelf because it's tall. This is a Oncidium dancing lady type. It's actually honeybee it's called. But yeah, the colour is showing now. We've even got the yellow poking out the top of the bud. So this bud's going to be open in the next couple of days, I suspect. Who knows, it might be open in time for everything in bloom on the 8th, which is when you'll see it. Because if it opens before then, I won't film it, I'll wait till the 8th. It's only a couple of days away, isn't it? Yes, so most of what needed repotting has been. So that type of thing dies down. It has been commented on, including Hannah, the new series of videos that I've started doing, which is the Orchid Progress Updates. That's the name of the set of videos. They are only 1 a month, but they are a rolling 3-month set. So towards the end of December, we'll look back 3 months and do an update on every plant that was worked on in that month, that had work done on it, repotted, divided, remounted, whatever. But you know, that month's work will be filmed towards the end of September, and then we roll it forward. End of October, we go back 3 months and do it again. And it's been commented that in principle that might be a better idea for the Project Orchids next year. Perhaps not exactly the same, but along those lines. I mean, this year, one plant at a time, one a week. Some people think it's great, but I can judge by the views, a lot of people are not watching them. They might watch one because it's a particular orchid that they've either got or are thinking of getting. But if it's an orchid type that they can't grow, haven't got any of, would there be an interest in watching that video? Probably not so much. So there are the hard fast people who like the Project Orchid videos that are watching, yeah, but then there are quite a few that aren't. So I'm effectively losing views by not having a project that suits more people. Now these progress updates do seem to suit a lot more people. So the Project Orchids next year will be along those lines, I think. Don't quite know what yet. With the number of orchids I've got, which is about, I think it's about 130. I haven't counted lately, because you've got a couple come in now and again and some go out. But yeah, if you had 130, you divide that by 12, you get a number of orchids. Perhaps I could do an update, in other words, divide my orchids into 12 groups that are not all the same, like not a group of dendrobiums, not a group of masdevallias, but a group of orchids representing the collection, yeah, and do an update on that group once a month. So we have 12 update type videos once a month. Does that sound like something that would work? Because each update video would contain an assortment, a variety of orchids. And, you know, we can talk about their sort of care at that time of year, you know. So that's what I've got in mind. But it's a long way off. We've only just got into September and I'm already talking about next year. Hannah and I were talking about Christmas this weekend. We're a long way off of that. But that's going to be a bit different this year, isn't it? Yeah, so yeah, workload gone down considerably. Workload in the garden gone down considerably. Apart from taking all the flipping rubbish up to the recycling centre, that's going to be probably 3 trips. And again, that's lifting and chucking bags in the car, getting them out, carrying them all up the steps. So they'll get spread out a bit, they won't all get done at once. And there is still that last section of the bamboo to do, but chances are I will have caught up with the gardening videos to be like, so that when a video's filmed it gets posted, like on this channel, yeah? And that last section of bamboo, that may be the first one of what I'll call a live garden update, because it's like filmed today, posted today, that sort of thing. But we should get there reasonably soon. As I say, I think there's about possibly 7 more videos to go. Well, I have been doing them one a day. I want to slow that a bit and perhaps leave a gap every now and again and perhaps go every 2 days. But certainly towards the end of September, we'll be up to date. So I'll have brought all the videos I want to bring across into the gardening channel. Good stuff. Bonsai channel's dead. There's nothing going on. We'll get some autumn colour soon. The other thing I'm going to do on the bonsai channel is my conifer, my Scots pine. I've actually bought a rotary tool, like a Dremel type tool with some, you know, various bits and things like that. And I'm going to have a go at doing some carving on that pine. Well, 1, I've never done it before, and 2, there won't have been anything like that on the bonsai channel either. But yeah, we've had a loss on the bonsai channel. A guy had a stroke, had slight stillness to one side of his mouth. Did videos, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of flipping trees all over the place. Whole parts of the garden with trees planted in the ground. I think he even had some in his dad's garden. But he got a cancer and it was supposedly gone, and it came back, and it came back aggressively, and you know, he said, I haven't got too long to go. But the bravery of the guy is just Well, I haven't come across that sort of thing before. I've seen people get ill on YouTube, YouTube creators before, and just go missing. And this guy said, this will be my last video. I'm not going to have long now. It's undetermined, but could be as little as weeks. And 2 or 3 days later, came back on with a video. And he said, I can still make videos. I enjoy making videos. I enjoy the YouTube community. So I'm going to carry on doing it as long as I can. And he carried on doing it till I think 2 days before he actually died. He was even in a wheelchair for some of those videos, and his dad was helping him carry stuff around. But he enjoyed his YouTube presence and what he was doing on YouTube, and his trees, the whole thing. He enjoyed it so much, he carried on right up to the end. Even though his abilities, one of his hands and arms were basically non-functional in a sling sort of thing, so he's working one-handed, still doing pruning, and so his dad was helping him with that, but he carried on right up to the end with a smile. Not one gripe, not even a mention of his illness. Just carried on. I hope I can be as brave as that. We shall see. Not too soon, I hope. Don't wish your life away, for goodness sake. Don't ever do that. It's precious. We only get one go at it. I'm not arguing about that. And you've got to make the most of it. That doesn't mean to say you can't take time out and just flake out and do nothing. I'm going to relax. That's still part of life. Doesn't mean you've got to be doing stuff all the time. But hopefully enjoying most of the things you do. You can't always enjoy everything you do, but sometimes that's a frame of mind, isn't it? So, yeah. So I'm niggling now. In the back of my mind there's something I definitely wanted to say today, and I don't think I've said it yet, and I can't think what the hell it is. Oh well. If it comes to me while I'm mucking about processing this, there'll be a bit on the end, because we haven't had many of them lately. That's mainly because I've completed the task I wanted to do in the video, so there's no need for a bit on the end. Oh, I've just seen that one that I showed you with the spike that I said was an odontoglossum type. There's a set of 3. One of the others in the set's got a spike, and that is tiger tail. So that's got a spike on its latest growth and is producing another growth over here, but that's cheating because that is actually 2 separate plants in that pot. They did separate out. Now, planning ahead, this new growth here with the spike, when it starts producing its next growth, it'll take it to the edge of the pot. There's still room, well, depending on which side it comes out. And then this plant over here, the weaker of the 2, has got a nice new growth coming. That will take it to the edge of the pot. So when that gets repotted next time, that becomes 2 plants. Properly, 2 separate plants in their own pot, in their own right. Now sometimes you get 2 plants in a pot, and the bonus is they are in sequence with each other. So when one spikes, so does the other one. So you get like double the blooms for the pot. You see what I mean? If you separate them out, that won't happen again unless you get a double new growth. But yeah, so that's 2 out of that set of 3 have got spikes on, and I can't see the other one, so I can't check it. It's buried in on a shady shelf where it should be. But Hannah had a look round with me at my Masdevallias this weekend, and she said, considering what they look like round the other place, you've now got some pretty strong, healthy looking plants with new growths, roots growing, and spikes in some cases. So suddenly they're doing okay. She reminded me, Masdevallia ignea, however you say it, is her favourite Masdevallia. I've tried growing 3 and killed them relatively quickly. Don't forget, this is not a cool grower, this is a cold grower. So even though I'm now growing nearer to cool, it's still possibly not cool enough. But I haven't got the heat to worry about anymore, so maybe it would at least survive, because the blooms are gorgeous. Anyway, we might give that a go, because that's Hannah's favourite plant. She would look forward to seeing that, you know, progress down here. I've got to find one, obviously. And one that I can afford as well. I'm not paying any price for a particular orchid. You know, I did that last year with money that was donated to me, and I've got two, you know, rare and very expensive orchids. We won't be doing that every show I go to, for sure. I do have to watch the pennies, seriously. And on that note, we'll just end with a glorious thank you to everybody. I got a new person joined the set of patrons. So a new person joined up with the Patreon site. Thanks a bunch for that. I don't know whether it was a consequence of mentioning it, but we also had somebody bought coffees on the Buy Me a Coffee bit. The link's in there somewhere. So that's nice. We haven't had any new channel members, but personally speaking, the channel members don't really get anything. You know, they're making a donation to the channel to help keep the channel going. It's not so much keep the channel going, it's keep this going. Because this is the bit that's spending all my money. It's the place, not necessarily the plants, if you see what I mean. Although the upkeep, obviously the energy costs and that come into that as well. But if you put the same amount of money into the Patreon site, I actually see quite a bit more of it, because YouTube take a colossal amount out of that membership monies that is donated. It's quite high, it's obscene, quite honestly. Whereas on the Patreon site, they don't take much at all. So if you were donating whatever, £10 a month, I'd be much better off if that £10 was on the Patreon site. Yeah? Nonetheless, the membership existence against my channel is a little plus from YouTube's point of view. You see what I mean? So I wouldn't want to lose it completely. I certainly wouldn't want to lose the donations either. The problem with YouTube at the moment is times are hard. Yeah, well, it hits everybody, doesn't it? It's hit YouTube enough that they're worried about the rate of new people coming in and the rate of people dropping out as a consequence of COVID sort of effectively being over and done. We're not all getting locked up in our houses anymore. And there was a massive surge of new channels during those lockdown periods and those periods where COVID was knocking people down like flies and stuff. And those days are gone now, and a lot of those channels just dried up. So they've got no activity. So that YouTube can't make any money out of them. It's not getting watched, there's no new ones coming in. Yeah. So they were a bit worried that they weren't getting enough new people joining to replenish the ranks, if you see what I mean. So they reduced the requirement to monetize, to try and get more people to have a go. Because once the channel's monetized, obviously the adverts are more frequent and YouTube make more money. So you know, they reduced it down. That's what I'm aiming at on the gardening channel, is those reduced figures. Came down from 1,000 subscribers to 500 and 4,000 watch hours to 3,000. So you should get to those points quicker, if you see what I mean. So that was their idea. I mean, I monetised the bonsai channel, but that bonsai channel's never going to be a big deal because I haven't got enough trees to provide enough videos to keep an interest in it, if you see what I mean. The videos are thin on the ground on that channel. I do it because I enjoy it, not to make money out of it. This channel was always done for enjoyment, and I still enjoy doing it. But to keep, you know, having left the other house where I was rent-free because it was my mum's, and now got into the rental market at extortionate cost, to keep this all going, I need help. And I'm getting some help, and it's greatly appreciated. So everything on this channel is appreciated, right down from somebody who watches an occasional video and never leaves a comment, to those who watch every video, leave a comment on every video, and have joined in with the donations, what I call a higher end viewer. So either a membership or a patron, and watches the videos and leaves comments. That's what I call a top end viewer. And those are greatly appreciated because they've stayed, a lot of them have stayed with it long term. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's really appreciated. So thanks for all that sort of stuff, and that'll do for today. It's early in the day actually. I don't even think it's night. I was no good looking at that. The clock don't work. Well, it does, but it works overtime. It keeps gaining quite a bit, which is, considering that's nothing more than a chip, it's weird that it can actually go wrong and still work. You know, I can imagine it failing, but not going wrong. But it has anyway. The clock don't work. It doesn't give the right time, I mean. Yeah, so yeah, I haven't got a busy day today. I've got a relatively lazy day. Some things I want to decide where I'm going to put them, to, you know, for a permanent home, not like here, and in the shed or in a cupboard or on a shelf, you know, get tidying, and I've got to water my mounts, which doesn't even take 10 minutes anymore. It doesn't even take 5 minutes. It only takes a long time if I've got to mix some feed up, but which I think I have actually got to do this time as well. So yes, ticking along. This channel ticks along. It's never going to rocket. The orchid channels that do rocket, sometimes it's difficult to work out why. In some cases it's blatantly obvious why, but I'm afraid I'm not a pretty young lady, so that ain't going to work, is it? People don't come here to look at that puss, do they? So yeah, it's part about the plants, part me, part advice, you know, that sort of stuff. But this channel sort of works, it ticks along. It keeps me busy, which is good. You know, once you get to retired sort of thing, you know, Hannah said, are you taking on too much with that garden? I said, you know, my orchid stuff at worst takes the morning of a day now and again. Not every day. As I said today, 10 minutes, job done. Nothing else to do out here. The garden's going to fill in the gaps, and unfortunately it's autumn. What comes next? What you do in a garden during the winter? So, you know, just as I get up to date with the gardening and get some sort of, you know, to the point sort of videos, won't be much to film. We'll find something. We will talk about gardening stuff. We will plan new plants. We will possibly look at sites to, you know, there's lots of things I can be doing in the background, pending next year sort of thing. So it won't be a dead channel by any means. I've got ideas. Plus, we will be visiting other gardens. Now, unfortunately, those in the past, a day out field trip type thing would have been on this channel. Well, if it's a field trip that's not involving orchids, then it will be on the gardening channel from now on. And I probably won't do one next week, but I might do one the week after. It depends where my fixing my car comes in, because that's still got to be done. I can live with the problem, but you know, I don't want it to go on too long. Yeah, a garden visit could be in order, and that way, you know, you get to film, you know, like a stately home and their laid out grounds with the lake and all that sort of stuff. You know, there's quite a few places I've got in mind where I don't have to drive too far, and they will be worth going to. And I'm not copying Rachel. This was always an idea for the gardening channel, because Rachel goes to some wonderful places, not only in this country, but off to Madeira and, you know, various other countries, and goes specifically to their botanic gardens and places like that and films them. They're smashing videos, they really are. But her basis now for her channel is gardens and gardening. When did you last see her orchids? Well, don't expect that to happen here. This is number one and always will be. The only time it won't be is when it doesn't exist anymore, should that time ever come. Yeah? But while this exists, this is number one. Everything else is secondary. Not changing that. And on that note, nice positive note, I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.